Alright everyone, there's a hilarious link in the description, archived of course, but you can always go to the live link up above. Joe Rogan just smoked CNN like a fucking joint, which I'm sure that he would enjoy, although I don't know what kind of hit you'd get off of CNN. I would imagine it'd be kind of bland. Like if legacy media was weed, it would be like the really shitty weed, like basically you're smoking nothing but stems. Joe Rogan is like, you know, at least mids or something like that. It's actually palatable. There's some actual intelligence there. I still know him from the Fear Factor days mostly, and I need to re-watch those because they were fucking hilarious as a kid. Except when they cut out the gross out stunts. I didn't like that. Just to be clear, and it's not his fault, the management, I think, they after the piercing episode, I think there were so many complaints that said, oh shit, we need to tone this down. You should have just had people eating weird shit. Like, you know, I literally ate buffalo testicles once because I saw it on Fear Factor. They weren't bad, actually. A little bit chewy, but otherwise they tasted a little bit like steak, honestly. Anyway, talking about CNN. He points out correctly, people have lost complete trust in the legacy media. They no longer give a fuck about the legacy media. So people just, you know, they have it on TV habitually sometimes, if they're over 50, I guess. And that's basically it. Most of it gets tuned out. The only one that still, like the only legacy network that still sort of functions and has any redeeming quality is Fox News. And even there, you get plenty of propaganda, and the TDS suffers, and they get Karl Rove up there. Inexplicably, they still invite Karl Rove onto the show after the 2012 election. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, and here's our expert pollster who was so wrong that he stormed off stage, went backstage to be combative with several of the staff on the set. And they couldn't believe it at the time. I watched it live on election night 2012. Oh, you gotta see it. Karl Rove getting angry because Ohio was called for Obama. That was really, really funny. And I called that election too, actually. Karl Rove did not call it correctly. He's a little bit hit and miss. Sort of like a Paul Krugman or something like that. Slightly more, yeah, I don't know. I'd rather have a beer with him than Paul Krugman. Paul Krugman would probably try to explain to me why the internet doesn't actually exist. It's just as important as the fax machine. Yeah, that was a good one. Joe Rogan is very well spoken. And it's funny because he was sort of cast off as a lunk. He had been in UFC and stuff like that. He's an interesting dude. And so people thought, well, yeah, he's not really that intelligent. No, he is, actually. He gives some good fucking commentary. Would I say he's fully independent? Well, yeah, it seems like he is. That's the funny part. Because they were trying to cancel him, and he just shrugged his shoulders. It didn't work now, did it? He's too big to fail at this point within independent media. And CNN got chopped and screwed Houston style on this one. I was watching some of this, I'm really giggling to myself, because Rogan's like, you know, nobody gives a shit about them, nobody trusts them. Basically, they're just a pile of shit. Nobody cares about them anymore. It's a point that I've been making too. Legacy media has really deteriorated in its capacity to propagandize. Why do you think? For example, here's a good explanation. Always look behind the curtain, so to speak. What do you see right now? You see a huge online campaign by Kamala Harris's campaign and the DNC and the David Brocks of the world, etc., all their backers, Act Blue and shit like that, to put out shitty ads on the internet, which I never see, so I mean I can't fact check them at all because I never see an ad in my life. To put out propagandistic ads, AstroTurf talking points and stuff like that. Where are they putting their effort into? Is it the internet? So like Twitter, Instagram, things like that. So-called influencers, people like Sisson, whatever, for what it's worth, Dabrowski. Or are they putting it on legacy media? Well, the legacy media will automatically cooperate with the authoritarian regime of the Kamala Harris campaign anyway. They don't really need to pay them. But they're also not really putting much effort into that. In fact, they're starting to get pissed off. They feel a little bit neglected. It's been a thing now for weeks, because Kamala Harris refuses to talk to the press, generally speaking. She's held a handful of rallies. Okay, yeah, it's a star-studded affair. You got 1,000 people to show up. How wonderful. Nobody really gives a fuck. Trump can get that in 10 seconds. But she's putting all the expenditures online because she's got a huge war chest, including, you know, imbibing money from what was the Biden campaign, which may or may not be legal. There is an FEC filing from the Trump campaign. She's putting it on the internet. So places like Spotify with like Joe Rogan, places like Twitter, you know, putting ads on people's posts and stuff like that. It's not going to the legacy media. I haven't seen an actual campaign ad in quite a while. I mean, I'm not going to see any Trump campaign ads probably because other than the crossover for New Hampshire, there's no real reason to target northern New England. It's a pretty Dem stronghold. But I would expect Kamala to at least put out a couple of ads. I haven't seen any. She's not doing it. She's hiding Harris. For one thing, you don't really have much of a platform to talk about, but you know, beyond that, also the more you disappear, the more popular you are when you're an unlikable person. Your absence is considered a breath of fresh air. And that's basically the way that people view Kamala. Rogan, meanwhile, is crucifying CNN. He should go after MSNBC, too. He should binge watch Joy Reid for a day. I know it's basically like torture, but, you know, just try to do that and then do a whole segment about that. That would be fucking funny. Yeah, CNN, and the thing is, CNN's not even the worst of them. CNN actually, like with the debate, they did a reasonably good job. They were actually, I mean, Biden had a complete mental breakdown, so there was not much they could do to save him. I think somewhere around 10 minutes in, they sort of gave up. You could almost see it, like it was almost palpable. You could see that they were giving up, and you're like, well, this is fundamentally over. This is not going well for the Biden campaign. And of course, now it's the Kamala campaign. It's, by the way, the same thing. When you vote for Kamala, you're voting for 4 more years of Biden's policy, only with more coherence and self-will. That doesn't sound like a great idea to me. But Rogan was crucifying CNN. He should binge watch Joy Reid. Take one for the team. It would be hilarious to hear that particular commentary. Hell, even Fox. There's plenty of criticism of Fox News. Some of those people have TDS as well. There's like, and then they fire Tucker Carlson. And I wonder fucking why, you know? It's sort of like that. That's about all. Peace out.